Moved by Councilor McKinnon, seconded by,
Brown,
Yep.
just, motion's on the floor. I just want to add under new.
Second, is Bob, you're online?
Yep.
Oh, Bobby is here. Okay. Bobby, you can hear us?
Yeah. Yes, I can. Thank you.
Perfect, okay. Okay, sorry, you had something, Your Worship?
So I just want add under new business. I've been asking now for,
We don't have new business.
no, just notice of motion, because that's where we put it, about this, the establishment of the Capital Region Active Transportation Committee. Don't know where it's at. I know we're waiting for the province, but I'd like to get an update at our next meeting, where we're at. So that's what I'm going to just give as a
Oh,
notice.
you're down here where it's new business.
Yeah.
We're down under number 8 and get there.
Yeah, but it's just an approval agenda. I just wanted to add it, so we don't have
We're
to,
just approving this agenda. Yeah.
which includes new business.
New
And-
business number 8.
Yeah, and I just wanted to give a notice of motion that I'll bring up under new business.
Oh.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Can we have approval of the minutes for August 2nd, 2024? Move.
Sure.
McKinnon, second by Councilor Duran. Any business arising from the minutes? Seeing none?
No.
No, okay. Trevor? Okay, seeing none, we'll move to reports. I'm just wondering, do we want to go into closed session and deal with this closed session issue first? Committee?
I'd like to just deal with the open agenda first. That's okay?
Okay?
Yeah.
You okay? All right. We'll go with the fall tree order. That was with Simon. Go ahead, Simon.
Hello, everyone. So yes, we had 4 bids from our RFQ. Dutch Master Nurseries scored the highest with their lowest cost trees and was the most complete order and completed their sustainability package. So the motion is to put forward for council to approve a full tree order for Dutch Master Nurseries Limited in the amount of $30,975 plus applicable taxes. Any questions about it?
I'm just opening it up, the resolution.
Have we dealt with
So, yeah.
Dutch Master before?
Yes, Dutch Master's been our our largest provider of our street trees typically. I think they've won at least the last 8 or 9 orders, I would say, of over 30,000. We tend to have a lot of smaller orders that we use local nurseries for, Cool Breeze and Arbor Nursery and Durons, yeah, all sorts of the locals.
I move it, Mr. Chair.
Okay, no, do you have a seconder? Okay, moved and seconded.
Now that the resolution's on the floor, I just want to ask a question. Simon, if you go down Inkerman Boulevard, we have the boulevard, we have now a mix of maple and lindens. This tender Dutch Master Nurseries, it'll be to supply what variety of trees? I'm just trying to look at it here in the package.
So we have a number of different species selected. We always try to fit the best tree to the best location that we can. Predominantly they are native species, but they are spread out where we are locating them. In the fall, we're trying to do more parks plantings, and in the spring, we're trying to do more street tree plantings, but we still do street tree in the fall as well. So it's the focus.
So native, 165 trees, I think, and shrubs for the city's annual fall order, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
So can you break it down? Are the lindens, is that a native species to the island?
American linden is. There are a lot of European lindens around as well, but American lindens are native to the island.
Okay. Yeah, it's just that there's a mix on that boulevard of maple and lindens, so it'd be great to get a consistency when we look at other areas of the city, when we plant many trees?
Yep, maples are a little bit overrepresented, and we have a lot of Norway maples. So we're trying to plant a variety as always. Diversity is key. We're particularly working on bringing back elms at the moment as well. Now that we have a lot of Dutch elm disease resistant elm cultivars available to us, we like to plant those. They do really well in our soils and grow quickly and are very durable.
Thank you.
Yeah, very well. No, it's good to have a little bit of variety, especially if you have too many of one species and catch a disease like we did in the Dutch elm. So, good job, Simon. Thank you. Anything else? Good, Trevor. Good, Bobby.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. We're going to move on to project management services for Transit Depot build design. Jessica.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this report is to request council endorsement of awarding project management services for our transit depot design and build.
Okay. I'm just, by the way, I'm just looking at the contract on my phone. I'm not
Okay, texting.
texting or talking to you. No, I have the package on my phone. Go ahead. Yeah.
So we had 5 submissions, and so these 5 submissions were scored on various criteria such as their experience and qualifications, and then price, obviously a part of that score.
Yep.
So they are in your table according to price, but then by total score. So Colliers came out as the highest scoring submission and the second lowest price. And we're requesting that council endorse awarding the contract to Colliers. So that'll be for the length of the Transit Depot project. So, starting in a couple of weeks if council approves this, and then going until spring of 2026 when the depot's done.
Okay. Any questions, committee members?
Moved.
Moved by the mayor, seconded by Trevor McKinnon, Councilor McKinnon. Okay. Moved,
Just-
seconded.
Yep, just a question there, Mr. Chair, on the resolution. So have we decided on a contractor for the build, or are you hiring the project manager before the build?
Yeah, so through you, Mr. Chair, to Mayor Brown, the part of the role of Colliers would be to serve on the review panel of the submissions that come forward. So we're trying to get them ahead of the RFPs coming in. So we have 4 companies bidding on the design build of the transit depot. So Colliers would review the submissions with the city to evaluate those 4 submissions. So they would come on in advance of the contractor.
So just a quick follow-up, and I know our Director of Community Services here. So is that a standard procedure that you have project manager hired as part of the review of submissions for this project?
My understanding is it's not uncommon to get consulting services to help you evaluate your RFP submissions.
Yeah. Yeah, this is not just a consulting service. They will be the brick counters, the project managers. So their role is not just consultants, they are.
They'll be working with whoever is selected in
Okay.
the end, yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, just for consistency, so the reports were in the package. These are the recommendations. Any questions you have, you can ask of them when we bring them up. But we move and second is to move and second to send it to council, so.
No,
just so you know.
it just puts the resolution on the floor. That's, so I can ask the questions before or after. That's fine.
Yeah, well, that's why reports are here for discussion. So you can ask questions. But usually when we move it or second, it's just to move it on to council. We've
Yeah.
already had our discussion.
Yeah.
So, okay.
But other committees we work at where we put the resolution on the floor. But if you want to go have the discussion, then put the resolution.
Well, that makes more sense. If council passes the resolution, we're just forwarding it as a recommendation, we're not passing it.
With a vote of this committee.
So we're just voting to move it to council for a
Right,
vote.
with a vote from the committee.
Yeah, okay. Next is the request for transit service improvement at Norwood Road, East Royalty. So Anna? I assume this is the request that Councilor McCabe made?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was following up on a resident who raised concerns about the walking distance from their apartment to their nearest transit stop. And after that was forwarded on to us by Councillor McCabe, we had a look into it and we found that The solution to this problem is not as simple as just putting another stop, because the bus route does not actually serve that part of the road. The bus turns before reaching that person's apartment. And so I think generally, if you have a bus route going somewhere and you need a new stop for accessibility, that's something that we can address within a couple of weeks. But the solution to this issue would actually be a comprehensive rerouting of the East Royalty routes.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
so, but looking into the details in East Royalty and considering the feedback that we got on that area from the 10-year transit plan, East Royalty is an area that does need more service. After chatting with the operators at T3, we think that the earliest that a change in this area could be feasibly introduced would be like December or January of this year, but it would require additional budget investment from council, and we're not. I think there's additional analysis that needs to be done here to figure out what would the schedules be, the exact routes, the frequency, and therefore the cost of it all. And I wanted to take this opportunity to inform council of what we're hoping to do as an annual route planning process. And that's from September to November every year. We'd look ahead to say, okay, 5 years into the future, where do we want to be with our routes? And then work it backwards from there to say, in the next year, what are the top priorities? And that way we could bring a proposal to council in November to say, if you invest this much money in next year's budget, these are the results that you're going to get from that. And we can gather any feedback through that process, and then it would ultimately be approved in next year's budget in March. So we're hoping to start that. I think that that sort of exercise has not been done proactively and in advance of budgets, but we're considering this and considering the East Royalty proposal in particular.
Yeah, I think what in my conversations with Councillor McCabe too, I think we had a trial in East Royalty a few years ago. And I think she was just looking to reintroduce that trial. And I think part of the reason is because of the growth in Montgomery Heights. Plus, I think there's only, memory serves me right, I think there's a stop at 7 o'clock at Mel's, and I don't think there's another one till maybe 4 or 5.
Yeah, there are only, East Royalty has very limited service right now, so I'm not clear on the details of the trial that was done in the past, but currently there's only 2 buses that leave East Royalty in the morning to come to downtown, and then the only way to get back to East Royalty is by getting on, they call it an on-demand drop-off bus, so if you get on a bus and you get on a bus that's destined for East Royalty, and if there is somebody on the bus, then the bus will go there. But it's not a pickup service in the afternoon. So that's extremely limited service. And obviously with such limited service, you're not going to have high ridership. I would encourage an approach that commits to at least an hourly service, because when you introduce a route just for a sort of 3 or 4 or 5 times a day, it's going to remain low ridership. And if you do a trial with low frequency, you're going to get low ridership and it won't look like a successful trial. But once you introduce frequencies of, coming every hour reliably from 7 a.m. until 5 p.m. or 7 p.m., then your ridership starts to increase and the route becomes sort of worth it, and it,
So
a higher return on investment.
So having said that, maybe, because the last time we did a trial, we did it for 6 months. So maybe if we're going to increase the times, then maybe we do one for 3 months. Maybe we do similar to what we had before and just do it for 3 months and increase the.
Increase the frequencies?
Yeah.
Sure, yeah. So we will, I don't have costing on this today.
No, that's okay.
But it'll take a few
We can
months to develop.
We can work that out and we could bring that back to council, but I think it's a trial that we wouldn't mind doing fairly soon.
Yeah, so I think that by November, we should have a sort of menu of options for council to consider and to say if we have $100,000 to invest, should it be going into Route 5 or to East Royalty or a combination of both? And but yeah, I hope to have those developed by November this year.
Yeah.
So you're looking to see if you can get that developed and possibly move it ahead something in November, is that what you're saying?
If we were to, so I can bring a menu of options to council in November. And then if there is to be any implementation before March of next year, it would require an additional budget approval than what was in the annual budget.
Yeah.
But if it's to be implemented after March of next year, then it can be part of the annual budget process for next financial year.
Yeah. No, that's fine. I think it's just something that can be worked out. We can do a trial fairly quickly to see if the need, because like I say, Montgomery Heights especially, it just seemed to explode it, and a lot of units, a lot of people out there. So if we can give that a try, we'll ask council, but we'll see what the cost is. Do a trial for 3 months and do the timelines that you recommend, and we'll see what council says. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions, Trevor? Or
There's no recommendation, correct?
none yet, no?
No. So again, I just want to follow up because, if we had a recommendation, we'd have that discussion now with the report. So I'm just going to ask, 3 years, maybe it was 4 years ago, as Councillor Bernard said, we spent, I think it was 120,000 to expand that service. It's not only an issue in East Royalty. West Royalty has an issue with routes, and so does Winslow. So we're looking at the Royalties and Winslow. So hopefully we're not just looking in silos. We have to look at the whole city. So left turn,
I
right
think
turn.
I think you mentioned that before, that there was some changes that had to be made.
What's that?
In West Royalty too. I think that was mentioned before.
Well, we're not discussing that here. This is just East Royalty.
That's because that's what was asked for by Julie.
What I'm saying that we have issues in the Royalties and Winslow in terms of transit availability. So I think that we have to look.
I think, Trevor, you brought that up.
No, he did.
Yeah, I
Okay,
think you
just
brought that up.
No,
I read it in my
I
minutes.
commented on something that was brought up by somebody else,
Hidden- with
but I
Hidden
did
Valley.
comment that we are lacking out there, especially when you were saying consistency of times of day. The need is not being met. So if you're doing a trial in East Royalty, I would love to see a trial also in the Winslow area.
Yeah.
And
And I think
West
that
Royalty as well.
comment was made before, and I think Anna is aware of that.
Yeah. So West Royalty is served by 2 different routes, and one of them is an hourly service now with, as of tomorrow, we're launching new, this year's expansion, which brings it up to half-hourly service at peak times. But the sort of northern end of West Royalty is on a different bus route, and that has, again, very low frequencies. So the 10-year plan did highlight a number of routes that have low frequencies that we need to lift over time, and a really significant part of the investment that council is going to need to consider is just taking our existing routes and extending them into the evenings. Most of our routes stop at 5 o'clock or 5:30, and so you can't get a bus after that time if you're coming home from work late, or if you're going to evening activities, or if you have a late work shift. And Saturday service is something that's also in very high demand. So it's not only about drawing new routes on the map in different neighbourhoods, it's also about how do we invest in the duration or the span of service.
But
And
I
we have to consider how that matches with our fleet as well. Expanding span is something that's easier to do without purchasing new buses, because
Yeah. So I think some of Councillor McKinnon's concerns were addressed in the new changes that have come up now. So it sounds like it's the very northern part of your district that's still not addressed, correct? Or is this one they started today addressing it, Trevor?
to be honest, I haven't looked at very carefully the new route that's starting.
More frequency?
It's more, yeah, but how late in the day is it going? If it's ending at 5 or 5:30, that's not going to address some of the problems that was brought up to me by residents. Can't go to work. They can go to work, but getting home is a problem. So I'd like to see at least 7 o'clock and not 5 or 5:30.
The good thing about the transit is we are young in infancy, and it's kind of good to hear these complaints, because obviously it's being used, and it's being used more, and so people are looking for more frequency, more time. There was a time when we were just begging people to get on the bus. So it's good to see it's been growing.
We're 19 years old, so we're just above the voting age. Can I just follow up on that
Sure,
report? I know we've all read the report, right turn, left turn. I know there's some issues in Sherwood and Parkdale with the frequency. Again, those 3 tenets: affordable, reliable, and frequent. Those are tenets that we all follow, that transit providers follow in the industry. So where did right turn, left turn look at this East Royalty, West Royalty? I thought they looked at expanding the services, correct?
Yes, very definitely. So there's a new map and proposed frequencies for each of the routes in in all of those areas. So, yeah. Of course, the information on the East Royalty area that was input to the 10-year plan was based on the East Royalty Master Plan. And the development pattern that's happened in East Royalty is already different to what was in the East Royalty Master Plan. And we've just recently had the connection of Norwood Road to McRae Drive completed just a couple of weeks ago. And that was not something that was considered in the 10-year plan. But of course, a 10-year plan is the basis for change. And when new things happen, we can adapt and adjust the plan. So myself and Trias, our operator, we've looked at the maps in that area and sort of thrown some spaghetti at the walls to see, what could be possible in East Royalty. But we do need to take some time to fine tune it before we can get back to you with a specific proposal.
And Mr. Chair, a challenge that is coming is out on Malpeck Road, when you go out out beyond the corner of Sherwood Road and Malpeck Road with all that development. Then if you go between Sherwood Road and Capitol Drive, with the proposed development by Mr. Michael with T3, Mike Casti, there's going to be a lot of development, and you want to put people on buses instead of them driving downtown to congest not only our streets and roads, but in the downtown area. So we get lots of reports out there. Let's use those reports and look at the whole area.
Yeah, so the start of this process to end up at the menu of options will be in September. We're going to review the 10-year plan, recommendations for routes in the short term, review sort of public input and complaints that we've received more recently, talk with planning and development to look at the new subdivisions that have gone in or that have recently been proposed for development but haven't been built yet. And then we'll also reach out directly to all councillors just to remind you of what the routes are that do currently exist and to gather any input, because all of you have really fantastic knowledge about what's going on in your particular wards of the city as well. And so that's the basis of information from which we'll create a 5-year plan for route expansions.
Right on. Okay. Good. Bobby, you good?
Yeah, sounds great. Thank you.
Okay, can we move on to the next one? It's a motion to move into closed session for section 119, 1A and B of the Municipal Government Act of Prince Edward Island, which commercial information which, if disclosed, would likely be prejudicial. Richard, you know how to say that word? I'm still having trouble with that. You go ahead. Prejudicial to the municipality or parties involved, information received in confidence which, if disclosed, would likely be prejudicial to the municipality or parties involved. The transit operating agreement. So we'll have a mover to move into closed session. Do I have a seconder? Thank you. Back into open session. Good to go. Welcome back to the Environment Sustainability Committee meeting in the open session. Is there any new business?
Just notice of motion on the Capital Region Active Transportation Committee. Just want to find out where we're going with it. If we have to put some pressure on it, we'll send the chair down to the Department of Environment and Sustainability. Get into
Perfect.
it.
That's where you would bring it up, and it's brought up.
Kick some
and
cans.
it's noted, so
Thank you, sir.
move for adjournment. Moved by the mayor, second by Councilor McKinnon. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate that.
Thank you.